Dear learners, welcome back, and now we are into week 4, and in this section we would be discussing the opportunities and the threats. What do the opportunities mean? What is meant by threat? We all have understood, we all have learned, and we have seen in our lives, or we have heard a word called SWOT. Though we would be discussing the SWOT analysis in the later sessions, but I just would like to mention here is that we have heard about SWOT, but we haven't seen exactly what is the opportunity and threat matrix. So that is why this particular session is very important in the context that we need to discuss what is opportunity, what is threat, and specifically for an NGO, because in corporate houses, in the business world, there are a lot of opportunities, there are a lot of threats arising out of the context in the business environment. But when we talk about the NGO as an entity, we need to understand what is an opportunity and what is a threat. So when we discuss the opportunity and threat matrix, we would be discussing the practical models, the models given by many experts and the models available on the website. And in that, how to apply the opportunities and the threats and how to assess that opportunity and threat for a particular organization, that we would be discussing. So it will be more of a practical approach to opportunity and threat than the theoretical approach. So that is why it becomes very important for us to understand the concept first and then how to apply the opportunities and threat matrix for the benefit of the organization. Now, starting with the first part, we need to understand that opportunities and threats, they are both a part of external environment of any organization. Even for an individual, even for a household, even for a small firm, even for a grocery shop, even for a vegetable vendor, any entity, opportunities and threats, they are external in nature. So they are an external environment, they're a part of an external environment. We have already discussed the micro environment, the macro environment, the relevant environment, different types of environment in earlier sessions. Now this is just an extension of the external environment, and what goes inside the external environment, that we are discussing here. So when we talk about opportunities and threats, we always say that they are external in nature. These are all external in it. There is nothing internal involved in it, because opportunities come from outside, threats come from outside. It is not inherent in nature for any organization. That needs to be understood. Now, when we discuss the opportunities and the threats, there are certain factors which need to be considered. What kind of opportunities they emerge, what kind of threats they emerge for an organization. Now I take an example of emerging technologies. If you see, there is a session on ICT also, there are different sessions on information communication technologies in the later part of the course, where you will find that how the emerging technologies, they become opportunities. Now emerging technologies is one particular factor which needs to be considered by any of the organization, and in this case in particular the NGOs. Now I'll give you an example of emerging technologies in the education sector. Now if you see the past 4 months, when the lockdown period started, when the educational institutions closed, when there was no opportunity for the NGOs running the educational or giving the educational facilities, they are working in the educational sectors. For example, there is an NGO, Room to Read. Now if you go to that particular site, Room to Read, you will find that everything is being done for the for the children of that belonging to that NGO or associated with that NGO online. So that is emerging technology. That means that NGO has used that online education techniques as a part of emerging technologies. What are we doing now? As part of an educational institutions, we are imparting education through online education, through MOOCs. That is massive open online courses. So I'm able to reach to you through a particular technology. So there are number of elements involved in emerging technologies. So when we talk about the latest technology, because technology is something which becomes obsolete within no time, so we need to update ourselves. So emerging technologies, they do provide the opportunities. Now we will also see this particular part as a threat also. So you have to balance yourself. Now you have to discuss that whatever the factors I'm considering here as an opportunity can become as threat also. So when we talk about opportunities, that means something is available in the external market, something is available in the market which can be used for the benefit of the organization. So that becomes an opportunity that we'll discuss in the next part. Now another factor which needs to be considered is availability of new material. Now in corporate houses, it is availability of raw materials. So availability of raw material can be an opportunity for NGOs also. But in this case, I have used a word of new material, means something which is new, which is available in the market, which is new in nature, which can be useful for the NGO, that can be used. So that is an opportunity. Then of course the changing needs. Then we have the changing needs of the organization. So NGOs, they change, they adapt to the changing conditions. We are seeing the present situation where everybody is trying to adapt to the present and the crisis situation. Slowly and slowly, initially there was a lot of fear, then slowly people started adapting to the conditions, and then now they are trying to place themselves in this changing conditions and work accordingly. So these are the changing needs. But in this case, one thing is very important, which I have discussed earlier also, and it needs to be repeated again, that one, in changing needs, it is important to be proactive than being reactive. Usually what happens is when something changes, we tend to react. Either we tend to react in a negative manner or we tend to react in a positive manner. But when you're trying to discuss the opportunities, when you're trying to assess the opportunities, when you're trying to find out the opportunities within the organization and how it will benefit the organization and the stakeholders, then you need to be proactive in nature. That means you react to the situation, but it has to be sustainable. Whatever the changes which are being adapted for the benefit of the organization and the stakeholders, that need to be sustainable in nature. So here in changing needs, when we talk about opportunities, it relates to the sustainability part, and that is very important, and that helps in dealing with the competition in the market. Then there are market conditions. Now this word is typically corporate, it is typically business oriented, but it is applicable for NGOs also, because NGOs also do have a market of their own. Their own credibility is there, their own responsibilities are there, what kind of stakeholders they have, what kind of environment they are working in. So all these are market conditions. So that also provide a certain opportunities. Now in the crisis situation, any kind of crisis situation, this is a very complicated crisis situation of COVID-19, fine. But there are other crisis situations also, like floods, like drought situation, like you have accidents, natural disasters. So there can be many types of conditions arising, the crisis situation arising. But how can you find the opportunities within those crisis situations? That is very much important here to understand, and specifically for NGOs, because when we talk about all the calamities like floods and droughts and the accidents or natural disasters like earthquakes, etc. So in that case, one needs to find out the opportunities which benefits. Now, its opportunities should not be self-oriented. Now, for example, if you just go back, say 2 years back, and maybe 1.5 years back, not to be specific about that, there was a massive earthquake in Uttarakhand. And there you find that there were self-opportunities also, where people tried, where the individuals in that particular society or the environment, they tried to perform theft conditions, or the thieves were there. They tried to steal the remains of the dead bodies, say for example the gold on the dead bodies, etc. Now this is self-centered opportunities, and this does not apply in this opportunity condition. Even the organizations, they behaved very badly in those situations. But if you see the other part, you will find that there were number of NGOs which utilized this situation for the benefit of the people who suffered that massive earthquake. They provided food packets, they provided, you can say, the rations, they provided the dry ration to the people who suffered. So there are certain kinds of opportunities for NGOs in the crisis situation also, but how they adapt and how they perform and how they benefit the society as a whole, that makes it more important, and that is what is an opportunity, because it gives a name to the NGOs. Now this is the market condition. Then you have new location opportunities. There are cases where the NGOs try to diversify themselves. They start from the remote location and then slowly they grow on, and they try to move on to new location. How do they move to new location? They have to find out the opportunities available there, whether the stakeholders would be benefited there or not. Now we were talking about the education sectors, and I was giving you an example of one of the NGOs like Room to Read. Now it has reached to different locations, different parts of the country. Now if you see their website, they have grown big and they have spread their wings across the countries, and they are benefiting the rural children from the remote areas, and children are going in for online education also. What more do you want if you educate a child beautifully? So that new location opportunities, they have just tried to find the opportunities in those locations, and they have spread there, they have diversified their work in those localities. So this is new location opportunities. So these are the parameters which are flexible enough. Whatever I am giving here, it is not the only thing. It can change in different ways, and it depends on from the organization to organization how they adapt to these things. So in the changes in competitive environment, if we discuss the changes in competitive environment, you will find that there's a lot of competition in different sector. Now the example, in the present situation, there are a lot of NGOs, even who, if you see the international organizations, on each and every website, you will find that the facilities for COVID-19, the movement for COVID-19, everywhere this is one of the things which is being highlighted. If you see any of the websites, we can take the example of say HelpAge India. If you see the website of HelpAge India, they would be mentioning that COVID-19 facilities for the old age people or something like that. So when we talk about the changes in competitive environment, there can be n number of competitive environment available. And for if we say that NGOs do not have the competitive environment, that is very wrong. NGOs also have the competitive environment. Environment can be competitive in any sense. It doesn't mean that competition should be hindering the progress of a particular organization, but competition can be healthy. So one can learn from others and try to change accordingly. So that becomes an opportunity. So opportunity is always positive in nature. So we will see later, and just discussing the concept of opportunities, we will see later in certain certain matrices. We'll just see the examples of different matrices which have been given by experts and the organizations, how they assess the opportunities and the threats. Now coming to another part is the threats. Threats are again the external factors and in that case the major factors, again I would stress here, is that the factors are not standard. The factors, these factors are not the standalone factors. They can change as per the requirement of the organization, but these are the certain factors, basic factors, which needs to be considered in threats. Now the first factor would be the impact of shrinking markets. Now in certain cases, when the NGOs, they act as business organization, and of course for not-for-profit organization, then in that case what happens is like they are short of funds because of the markets shrinking. That means the markets slow down. Like in this situation, the markets slow down and they have a kind of fear of survival due to the shrinking markets. So now what impact does it have on the NGOs? That needs to be assessed, and can this threat be taken as a warning to improve upon? That also needs to be assessed. Now shortage of raw material, if you just value and if you just see the factors from that of opportunities, you will find they are just the opposite of the opportunities. So shortage of raw material in certain cases. Now if the NGOs, they are say into candle making, now in that case they require a raw material of wax, and if there is a shortage of raw material, they won't be able to make the candles now, or the wick, the raw material for making the wick. So in that case they may fumble and they may have the issues related to producing the candles and bringing up for sale, so that they can generate revenue for the organization. So these cases do arise in case of NGOs also. There are market changes which impact the NGOs. Now market changing situations are there. There are no buyers for the candles. We are taking the example of candles here. Now say there are no buyers for the candles. So how will they generate the funds? How will they get the resources for developing the infrastructure and benefiting the stakeholders? So the changing market environment also impacts the NGO, and that becomes the threat. There are competitive threats, as I gave you an example. In opportunities, competitiveness can be positive or it can be negative. When we talk about threats, it's usually negative in nature. So the competition, say one NGO is making candles, beautiful candles, say scented candles in a particular society, and they have a good sale record there. But suddenly they realize that there is a competition from another NGO, say 2 kilometers away, and they are making still better candles and they have more sale than them, because so their monopoly or their existence is at stake. So this becomes a competitive threat. Now there are certain cases where changes in policies also affects the organization, and the changes in policies usually happen due to the crisis situation or due to the environmental conditions like political environmental conditions or the social environmental conditions, which we will see in the pestle analysis. This is just a continuation of that particular part. So all the legal changes happening. So all these things, they do impact the NGOs and they become the threats for the organization. Now, so this is the whole concept of opportunities and threats. So to summarize the concept of opportunities and threats, we say they are external in nature, and one is positive and one is negative. Now we will see how they work for any organization. Usually the matrix which have been used, they have used specifically for the corporate organization, and for NGOs they have only used SWOT analysis, that is strength, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. But in this course we are trying to relate to opportunities and threat matrix for NGOs also. So that is a kind of an innovation, that is a kind of a new thing which will help the NGOs to survive better in the market and sustain in the market also. So when we say the threat and opportunity matrix, you can call it as opportunity and threat matrix. Usually in the corporate term, it is known as the threat and opportunity matrix. So either ways you can call it the threat and opportunity matrix or opportunity and threat matrix. Here we are saying it as threat and opportunity matrix. Usually it is a 2x2 matrix. So you have 4 quadrants, right? So it is 2x2 matrix where you put in one quadrant, in one part you put the potential threats, and in another part you put the possible opportunities. Now this is typically kept or built keeping in mind the specific stakeholders. When I gave you the example of education sector, it is the children who are getting the education, they become the stakeholders in this case. So the threat and opportunity matrix would be built keeping them in mind and how it will impact their education in a longer period of time or a shorter period of time, that we'll see. That has to be decided upon. So now, what is threat versus opportunity matrix before we go on to the particular matrix and discuss what exactly happens in that matrix. Now suppose I'm just telling you to think of yourself as a stakeholder. You are a stakeholder, and I give you the example. I gave the example of the education sector. So you are a stakeholder. You are a child taking an education through an NGO who is in the education sector, who is associated with the education sector. So you as a stakeholder is associated with the NGOs which provide the education. So you can, as a stakeholder, you can be as a donor or you can be as an end user. Here I am talking about end user, that I will take the education or you will take the education as a stakeholder from the NGO who is related to or which is related to the education sector. Now, what are the threats that will impact you? What are the opportunities that will impact you? Now that the question here is that you need to understand that what will be the threats which are going to have hindrance or which are going to have problems for you. Now if you say the threats, then in that case you say there is no power in your area and you won't be able to connect with the online classes, and that would become a threat as your peers, they have the power and they will be able to have better education than you. So that can be a threat for you, and that NGO has to realize this kind of threat for you because you are the stakeholder. So NGO has to see that this short-term threat should be overcome so that you get the better education. Similarly, this is just an example. So similarly, there is a case of what are the opportunities that will impact you. Now in that case, the opportunities can be that you have an access to the online education because the bandwidth at that particular place is good enough. So you are able to do the online education, you are able to take the online education. So these are the opportunities. So NGOs, they need to frame the matrix and assess their standing in the external environment through threat and opportunity matrix, and this helps their team to look into the benefits and how they can be used for the advantage of the organization. So these are the reasons why we what is the difference between threat versus opportunity matrix. Now, what is the need for this tool? We need this tool because it brings in the employees together, because there's a sense of community building, there's a sense of commitment, there's a sense of serving others. So in that case, this tool becomes very important for the team to implement the changes smoothly, keeping in mind the interest of the stakeholders, to assess the dangers that may occur due to the change, to prepare the risk mitigation plan, which we will see in one of the slides, then to bring the team together for a common cause and for the benefit of the society. Now, if you see this matrix, you will find there are 4 quadrants. As I said, that it is 2 by 2 matrix, and you have on the y-axis, if you see on the y-axis, you will find, if you see on the y-axis, you will find that there are high seriousness and low seriousness. So in that case, the first quadrant, it has the major threat, the second quadrant, it has the moderate threats, the third quadrant, it has the moderate threats, and fourth quadrant, it has the minor threats. On the y-axis, it is the seriousness of the occurrence of the threat, or seriousness of the threat on the y-axis. So that is high and low. On the x-axis, it is the probability of the occurrence, and it is again high and low. So when we say in the matrix, when 2 highs meet, that is from the x-axis as well as the y-axis, that becomes the major threat, that is the first quadrant. When 1 low on the x-axis and 1 high on the y-axis meets, that becomes the moderate threat, because 1 is low, 1 is high, so it is like it balances. Now, if you see the third quadrant, you will see that there is low seriousness and high probability of occurrence. Again, it becomes the moderate threat. But in certain cases, when it is low seriousness and low probability of occurrence, it becomes the minor threat. So this is how the threat matrix works. Now, this is how the NGOs, they need to put in their issues. These say that they have to measure the seriousness level and the probability of occurrence, and then decide whether it is a major threat, moderate threat, or a minor threat. Now, coming to the opportunity matrix. On opportunity matrix, on the y-axis, you have attractiveness, and on the x-axis, you have the probability of occurrence of opportunity, whether it is attractive or not. So in that case, it is again high and low, and on the x-axis, it is again high and low. If we see, when we see high and high meeting together, that is the first quadrant, it becomes very attractive. If it is high and low, it becomes moderately attractive, and that is the second quadrant and the third quadrant. And in the fourth quadrant, again it is low and low, so that opportunity is least attractive. So now in both the situations, whether it is threat or whether it is opportunity, you have to decide, or the NGO has to decide, that if it is minor threat, that is fine for the NGO, and if it is least attractive, that means the NGO needs to explore more opportunities. So it is the either way. So in opportunity matrix, you have to have all the positivities, and in the threat matrix, you have to have all the negativities. So that negativities have to be shunned out, and try to reduce the threat as much as possible. And in opportunities, try to gain as much possible opportunities as you can. Now let us see one of the examples. This I got from this website, and it's bwanderlin.wordpress.com, and it's like the shared need, the threat versus opportunity, and this is the risk mitigation plan for an organization they have developed, but this is very much applicable for NGOs also. Now, this is very important for NGOs also. Like for example, there are two cases, whether we want to change or whether we do not want to change. What will happen if we do not change? What will happen if we do change? If we don't change and if we do change in the short term and the long term, what will happen? So this is the risk mitigation plan. Now suppose if we don't change, the risk mitigation is very high. If we do change, the risk is very less in that case. So these things, they are based on the 4 quadrants. Like if it is short term, what will be the risk mitigation? If it is long term, what will be the risk mitigation? And there are 2 conditions, like if we don't change and if we do change. So the organization has to assess that if we do not change, if we accept the threats and we do not go in for opportunity, what will happen in the short term? And if we do change, what will happen in the short term? Similarly, if we don't change and we just go on with the threats and we don't accept the opportunities, what will happen in the long term and what will happen in the if we try to change? So this is a whole concept of risk mitigation plan. Now coming to the another part, this is a practical aspect where you are supposed to assess the threats and opportunities matrix on your own. So now if you just make a hypothetical example, and this you can very well do. Now we can say just name the project. Suppose we say the name of the project is X. And who is the project sponsor? The project sponsor would be, say, Y. Who is the project stakeholder? Then we can say the project stakeholders are children. And what is the objective of the project? Then an objective of the project is to provide education to girl children. That will be the objective of the project. And then we begin to plan the matrix. These are the threats, these are the opportunities. In threats, we say if we do not change. In opportunities, we say if we do take action or we do change. So in short term, what will happen if we do not change? Because short term strategy planning, because threats and opportunities, they are completely based on strategic planning. So if it is short term, it is for the 6 months. Now if we do not change, and we are talking about education, and we have a threat of technological interruptions. Now if we do not change, we become redundant. And if we do take the opportunity of changing with the technology in the short term, we can provide better education to the children. In the long run, if we do not change with the technology, I am giving you just one example, the technological aspect. If we do change with the technology, we have to continue changing with the technology as the technology changes and adapt to the changing situation. That becomes, and if we do not change, if we do not do something, if we do not change at all, then we become redundant. We are not able to provide better education to the girl children. So that becomes the long-term effect. Now, if we take the opportunity and we keep on changing with the organization, we keep on changing with the technological changes, the organization changes accordingly, we can provide better education to the children. So in this way, different factors you can frame it, and different factors you can just fill in the short term and the long term, and see if we do not change and we do change. So what will happen, what assessment can be done. So this is what is the threats and opportunity matrix, and which provides a better understanding of the external conditions and the conditions in which the organization or the NGO is operating. So this is how the threats and opportunity matrix is used as a tool to provide a supportive situation or beneficial situation to the NGOs. So in other parts, we will discuss the strengths and weaknesses also, and we'll see how they impact the organization. Thank you so much.